I was just saying, sitting up here waiting for the final two commissioners to arrive feels a little bit like standing behind the curtain, waiting for the curtain to go up. But that's why we are here. We are coming for the annual meeting for the Brattleboro Housing Partnership. And I welcome you all to this meeting. And I'm trying to be modern and use my phone to remind me. My children keep trying to teach me. And a personal reflection first. Last year when I was here, I had lovely white tights because I was still wearing surgical stockings after a knee surgery. And it feels really good to know that I have healed and you all have grown, and that we as a group together are doing some exciting things. Certainly there have been some changes, and I'm honored and delighted to see the sign reflecting how many commissioners there have been of Brattleboro Housing Partnership. We've lost one commissioner, Pat Smith, who, close to finished her term, has recently died of breast and bone brain cancer. Her memory has been very important, and I was really touched by the fact that the family asked for donations to the Brattleboro Housing Partnership in memory of her. We are looking for a proper way to honor all that she did for this community. And Chris Connolly, who was a commissioner with me, withdrew because of poor health for herself. So we are welcoming two new commissioners, and one of them isn't here because she's had poor health. Liz Harrison and Byron Stuckey are new members of the Brattleboro Housing Partnership Board. Welcome, Byron. Lots has been happening this past year. I particularly Chris Hart and Christine Hazard. One reason I took a year off and said I really wanted to come back and be on the Brattleboro Housing Partnership Board was that Chris Hart had confided in me that she was thinking of retiring, knowing there was going to be a grandchild arriving shortly. We convinced her to step back and not retire, which I am very grateful for. And I'm sure you'll be hearing more about that. And Christine Hazard, whom you've all known as the head of SASH, has moved up and moved in and through holding this group together, and will be the new executive director as of the 1st of January. A very quick comment on how that decision was made. First, the board decided they didn't want to go out if we had a good candidate here. The Board of Selectmen, who would bless or object to that process, said, fine, do what you want. And then two commissioners, myself and Donna Rathman, interviewed staff. Who do you think would be a good leader for Brattleboro Housing Partnership? What are your concerns? What are the concerns of residents? And to my great delight, without prompting, more than one person said, we'd like Christine Hazard to have that position. So much for technology. It keeps turning off on me. I don't think we have much more to do now, except to turn over to the Red Clover Commons presentation about community building, which is very exciting. And thank you for being here. Steve, do you want the microphone?
No. I'm going to try to do my best. So thank you everybody for coming, and I appreciate, I just want to say a special thank you to a lot of our residents who came, and some of our residents are part of this presentation. I apologize because our system seems to be a little off, so I'm going to try to play a little video that we made here at Red Clover Commons to start, but you're just going to have to give me 1 second. To introduce this video, I wanted to say the Red Clover Commons community identified probably last winter that they were struggling a little bit. People came to property management, they came to myself and saying that they were having a hard time sometimes getting along. And so we worked together for several meetings, and the residents really came up with some strategies on their own. And I'm really, really proud of some of the things that they've done. They've hosted community get-togethers, like a beautiful harvest dinner that incorporated most of the residents, and there was more food that could have filled 5 Red Clover Commons. And then they recently hosted a ice cream social where residents dressed up as 1950s soda hops, and they took orders and they decorated this room like it was like a beautiful little 1950s cafe. And so they're really working to create a stronger community, and I think that they are a great example of just what you can do from within. So give me 1 second to try to play this video, and I will.
My name is Gina, and we're here as a small group.
Maybe if I move, it will work.
Sorry.
Yes.
Okay, well that's not going to work. I'm really sorry. I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but would anybody from that group like to come up a little bit and share a little bit about their community and some of the positive things that have happened? Okay. I will not. What? I will not put anybody on the spot.
And then I'll go. Suzanne.
Okay. So, I guess we're going to move on a little bit, and we're going to talk a little bit about the next thing I wanted to talk about is we have this wonderful resident advisory communications committee that was formed about a year ago, and they have worked on lots of little projects, but this is one project specifically that was very important to them, and so I'm going to ask one of our residents, Bridget, to come up and just introduce the project a little bit and talk a little bit about it.
So would I get my video be there?
Probably not.
It's okay. Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Bridget. I'm a resident at Ledgewood. I recently joined the board to get involved in the community, and together we have addressed several issues that we wanted to take part in throughout town. Locally over the past year or so, there's been a lot of focus on race and the Black Lives Matter movement, and also a lot of hatred that has come along with that. Together as a group and to give back to our community, we wanted to show everybody that where we live in our residency, in our community, in our complexes, our apartments, wherever we are, we don't tolerate any form of racism, hatred, bigotry, anything like that. So to display this, we decided we would get together. We brainstormed a couple of ideas, and from those ideas, we decided that we were going to create a banner, and the banner represents Hate Has No Home, and that banner will be displayed throughout all the properties. And so we have the banner here that we're going to show you guys. And these will be up so that we can let everybody who enters our community know right when they come in that we do not support any type of hate, and we do not tolerate that type of behavior, and we accept and welcome everybody. And so this is the banner that we're going to hang, and like I said, they'll be everywhere, so that way people know that we're just an open community and willing to accept everybody.
So I just wanted to say a special thanks to Bridget, also Ashley, Trish, Tracy, I'm sorry, and Lynette. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. What was it? Oh, yeah. Yeah. And these guys are from Morport. Bridget's from Wedgwood. Thank you so much.
Yes, no problem. Thank you.
Will there be enough banners for all of them?
There will be a banner at every single housing site, including Red Clover Commons and the AMW Richards building.
Wonderful.
Yes. And so they'll be going up this month.
Hello. I'm Lucy Taylor, run the Family Self-Sufficiency Program. One of the many rewards of my job is reconnecting sometimes with some folks that I might have worked with earlier in my job career, either at the shelter, at Life Skills Housing, or going back farther to the family garden, which is daycare. I've been around. And so it is with Damaris. We first met almost 20 years ago when I was working at Morningside Shelter, and she was with Rich Moore as part of their service-enriched housing program. Rich left and I took over his caseload, which included working with Damaris. She was living in an apartment through Wyndham and Windsor Housing at the time. Fast forward to now, where I'm once again working with Damaris through my Family Self-Sufficiency Program, and she is a Section 8 voucher with Brattleboro Housing Partnerships. I've always been so impressed with Damaris's drive to pursue goals and better herself. She comes across to me as a bound and determined woman. She's always first in line to take advantage of any program that is offered that might help her to further achieve her academic, employment, and housing goals. And thus, she is one of my FSS STAR participants. It gives me great pleasure to introduce you to Damaris Mills.
Thank you, everybody. Before I read what I wrote, I just wanted to let folks know one of the main reasons why I'm so grateful to the Housing Partnership and other agencies that have helped me in the area, because when I first came up here in '98, my kids were already grown. And I had discovered Landmark College when Ennis Cosby was killed. It was all in the papers and magazines about Landmark College. And I had found out that I had learning differences as well as my kids. So I was blessed and was able to come up here. And after being here a year, I said, well, I'm going to stay up here in Vermont. And I had tried another couple of colleges and flunked them, but I graduated in '02 from Landmark. So, but when I was younger, like most people are, in my opinion, I always felt that most people are looking for houses when they're like maybe in their 20s, 30s, or 40s. But I'm a late bloomer because of my learning differences. But I plugged into everything I could possibly get into. Whatever opportunity opened up for me, I went and took the chance on working with the folks like Lucy, who keeps me in check. So now I'll read what I wrote. Okay, in the beginning of the Family Self-Sufficiency Handbook, it encourages you to invest in yourself. And that by joining FSS, you can create your nest egg to success by paying yourself first. Well, I never understood about how to pay myself first but joining FSS made that easy for me. By turning in each of my pay stubs to David DeAngelis, an escrow account was set up for me where a certain percentage of what I make is matched and put into an account by Big Brother of the FSS program. These nest egg accounts can go toward buying a home, a computer, a car, or starting a business. My goal is to purchase my own home. When you join FSS, you are expected to accept the challenges and take the necessary steps it may take to obtain your goals. Even though the Family Self-Sufficiency Program is a voluntary, goal-oriented employment savings program, it is very helpful to have an FSS coordinator to work with on a monthly basis to help to encourage you and to keep you accountable. Lucy Tell is my coordinator mentor, and she keeps me very accountable. Sometimes, if I procrastinated on something, it's helpful to know that Lucy's coming over, that I had better take care of what I needed to take care of before she gets here. A few years ago, when Claudia McCarthy was my coordinator, she turned me on to SEPCA's financial fitness program, and it was there that I first began to learn how to clean up my debt and repair my credit score. I also joined SEPCA's IDA Individualized Development Account Savings Program. This is also where I found out that it was not impossible for me to become a homeowner. After a guest session with folks from Wyndham and Windsor Housing Trust and the USDA. See, personally, I grew up in the projects, so I thought you had to be rich to buy a house. But when I took the financial fitness program, I learned otherwise. At that point, that became my biggest goal. I have also been in contact with Thelma Patterson up in Montpelier about the Section 8 homeowners program. I am happy to say that over the last 4 years or so, I have reached most of those goals. I've cleaned up my debt, raised my credit scores, and in one meeting away from finding out I had finally mortgage rent. And to my own disbelief, I have money saved in 2 different banks for the first time in my life. That's a big deal, y'all. I'm 70. That's a big deal. Okay? So, with Lucy, Claudia, and some of the other FSS coordinators that I work with, I have successfully developed short and long-term goals that I have reached and that I am still working on. I am definitely taking control of the quality of my life, and I can actually see now where my dreams are slowly but surely soon to become a reality. Thank you to Section 8, the FSS program, Lucy Tell, SEPCA, Wyndham and Windsor House, for all the support we provide.
Damaris, that's absolutely wonderfully impressive. Well, as commissioners, we have a report from Lucy each time we meet, and the amount of escrowed money because of FSS is impressive to us too. Thank you. Remarks from the executive director, who is hoping that our commissioners will get here. They've not found them. Failed.
That was wonderful. Thank you. We've always wanted to have an FSS participant come up and brag and tell us just how well they did, and I appreciate it. It's a great program. So, hi everybody. I'm Chris Hart, the Executive Director for the next 6 weeks. And I was given the very small task of giving you the history of the Housing Authority in its last 57 years. So if you'd like to curl up and go to sleep now, that'd be fun. The Housing Authority was started in 1962. It was started by a group of folks from the town that wanted to have low-income housing primarily for the elderly in Brattleboro, but for all of those of lower income. It was the second federal public housing authority established in the state of Vermont, and started out with a bang with the construction of Melrose, Hayes Court, and Moore Court. During the 70s, the folks focused on staying current with ever-changing HUD regulations and really starting to manage the public housing program. They also brought in the Section 8 Housing Certificate Program, which was a huge success and started a wait list almost immediately and has always had a wait list. In the 80s, they built the high-rise and Ledgewood Heights and focused their maintenance on properties and their administration on the ever-growing list of HUD regulations. In 1995, an interesting thing happened, and the whole board was replaced, and a new director was hired. The first chair was Tom Yan, and the executive director was me. The first order of business for us was to ensure that the internal operations and policies were up to date, and that we needed to do a great deal of capital improvement. So we undertook that as well. The staff was growing with increasing demands for more social services and maintenance needs. The Section 8 certificate program was converted to the Housing Choice Voucher program, which is what you think of and know of as now. In 2000, really zipping through time, we started to address our need for elderly housing, feeling that elders in housing needed more assistance. And we were looking at what I would call a build solution. Build a building that has an ability to incorporate more services, but is not fully licensed assisted living. So we started on that and then got waylaid for 2 years because Mark Richards, who owns the Ann Wilder Richards building above Hayes Court, which is where we were going to put our new building, approached us and said, could you turn this into housing, and would you? And so we took a little side jaunt for 2 years and renovated the Richards building into the Ann Wilder Richards affordable housing. We also, during this time, came up with a very comprehensive energy improvement plan for all of our properties. And we were just weeks away from both starting that and really starting the rebuilding of Hayes Court when Tropical Storm Irene came through Melrose, and that was the end of that story. And the beginning of the story that you all know, which ended up here with 55 units at Red Clover Commons. I think a tremendous testament to the entire state of Vermont to have this building built and to have you have a very, very safe place to live. There are still 25 residents at Melrose, and we are working on a Red Clover 2. It'll be a small building at the bottom where the parking is, and that will house the last of the folks at Melrose. Now, after the storm, while we were still doing other things, the Housing Choice Voucher Program continued to roll along very, very well, bless you. And we had got involved in 3 homeless grants: the Shelter Plus Care, Transition to Housing, which we actually wrote, and the Family Supported Housing. And we've remained very active in those 3 grants and probably house 75 to 80 homeless families and individuals in those programs at any one time. We also went through a very comprehensive 5-year strategic planning process, and one of the great outcomes of that was that we changed our name. And we changed our name because at the end of a long process that involved you all and the community and our commissioners, we decided collectively that we just didn't like how authority felt. It was like, ooh, nah, you know, just too up above, you know. And so partnerships was the word that we came to. I think Jan had a lot to do with that. And we all really felt that that really said what we do. We were a founding member of the highly successful statewide SASH program that I think you all know of, and that program really replaced any need for a built solution to how to get better services for our elderly and disabled residents where they live. And that was the point of a new building, and SASH came and delivered it. So we're very happy to be part of that program, and we're very proud of the program that Christine and her staff have developed. We also got 2 grants, one of which you've heard and seen a terrific success, the Family Self-Sufficiency, and the other is our Resident Opportunities and Supportive Services program, which worked with families to bring around supportive services and help them with self-sufficiency. So these programs and some success with our financial management enabled us to finally create something that I had always wanted or hoped that we could have here, and that is a resident wellness and supportive services team, which is really a group of people whose job is to work with the property management folks and maintenance and bring services to residents to avoid sort of the calamities that get started when somebody has a flat tire or their car needs a repair. And then 3 months later, they haven't paid their rent. And we're looking at them and going, rent. And they're going, no money. So we were able to bring this group together, and under Christine's really exemplary leadership, it has really brought an enormous amount of support and positive assistance to our residents. I said to them when they started, well, think of it this way. Who would you rather come to your door if you didn't pay your rent? Courtney or Lorelei? And they all went, Lorelei! Lorelei, unfortunately, isn't here, but her mom is. So where am I? Let's see. I'm almost at the end, folks. Hang on. So the other thing that happened, we did that, and then starting in 2018, we began working with FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, on a new plan to turn Melrose into a flood mitigation area. We applied for, and we're still waiting to hear on an application to become a moving to work agency, which would allow us to be even more creative and more resident focused than we are now. But we haven't, I don't think we will hear on that for a while. And we started in earnest the planning for phase 2. So as 2019 comes to a close, I want to look back with you and the staff with a great deal of pride on the work that we have all done. Every staff person at BHP has worked to achieve these successes, and they have done so with substantial dedication and respect for the work they do, their co-workers, and above all, the residents that they serve. And I include the board in that. We have strengthened our resident communications this year by putting in a very active resident advisory and communication committee. The resident wellness and services team has really solidified its presence as a critical component of our housing retention and resident support. The voucher program and its grants remain fully utilized and are really seen as models for the entire state. The maintenance team has been reorganized and is more fully focused on the needs of specific properties. And believe it or not, 3 years later, we got our FEMA award. So we will be starting our $3.2 million project to convert Melrose, more than half of Melrose, into flood storage. And 4 of the Melrose buildings have come down. The development team for Red Clover 2 has gone beyond 50% design development on that project. So we're really cooking here. The 2 greatest achievements for us in 2019 have to be the conversion of our rental subsidy from public housing to RAD, or the Rental Assistance Demonstration Program, which I think for those of you that are residents, you're so tired of hearing about it. You're like, stop. Stop talking about it. But that program is done. We got to closing. We have now converted our properties. I think it will make life much better for our residents, and for the agency. We now own the properties outright, which we did not before. And we always had to go and ask HUD, Mother, may I do this? May I do that? And it always entailed about a 3-year process of filling out forms and seeking approvals. We don't have to do that anymore. We own the buildings, and that's exciting. And then the last but not least was the executive transition, which the Board of Commissioners undertook and created a very smooth plan where I will make my semi-exit at the end of the year, and Christine Hazard will become the 5th executive director of the housing agency. This is a terrific staff, a dedicated board, and I know they will give Christine their full support and help into the future of BHP. One last note, while I have the mic, I just wanted to say I thank you all, every one of you who have been a part of my truly wonderful career here. Thank you.
Well, I want to definitely say thank you to Chris. That was a very comprehensive history of Brattleboro Housing Partnerships, and while it was very thorough, I can imagine it was hard for you to edit it down, because if anybody knows Chris Hart, she knows that she loves to talk about Brattleboro Housing Partnerships, and she's very proud about it, and she always shares great stories, so this was definitely a triumph. I wanted to thank Chris for 24 years of service. We're so fortunate to have had her leadership during those years, and she's really brought the organization to a great place. So as I talk about the future of Brattleboro Housing Partnerships, I'm going to start off today by talking a lot about Chris as well. So if you're not tired of RAD, you will definitely be tired of this. But frankly, I wouldn't be in this room if it wasn't for Chris Hart. And in all honesty, none of us would be in this room or in this building if it wasn't for Chris Hart. So just looking around, it really is a testament to her. So Chris has the rare and unique ability to focus on the big picture, while also sensitive to the fine details of running an organization. An example of this is Red Clover Commons and the residents within. Chris worked tirelessly from the late summer of 2011 through the winter of 2017 to create a safe and thriving space for our residents and the Brattleboro community. During this time, her vision of this space never faltered, as she chipped away at the daily deliverables, the problems, and the issues that came across her desk. And there were several problems. Chris always continued to prioritize the big picture and the light at the end of the tunnel. So as the new executive director, I will strive to prioritize positive growth for our residents and community by looking broadly to see how to improve our neighborhoods within the Brattleboro community. I will balance this with the understanding understanding the many small details of the organization and how combined they add up to big issues. Chris's vision for supportive services predated my time here. However, I've had the fortune to be given the opportunity to focus on the resident wellness and supportive services group for several years. One of my goals going forward will be to continue to strengthen this group to understand the needs of our residents and community members as we plan for the big projects of the future. It's rare to find someone with the combined skills of being able to come up with creative ideas and the practicality and work ethic to make them happen. I will say that Chris has had a lot of creative ideas. And sometimes the staff, myself included, has tried to rein her in a little with some of them. However, the Rental Assistance Demonstration RAD program conversion as well as the Moving to Work application are two places where I have witnessed the gears turning and there was no stopping Chris. As she envisioned new and creative ways to make Brattleboro housing more sustainable as we move through the changing landscape of public housing. The first few years of my role will be to continue the process of implementing the RAD program by focusing on capital needs improvements and planning for future improvements of our neighborhoods. During this time, I will dive into our financial management to ensure that we maintain the financial stability that Chris has worked so hard to improve after the devastation of Hurricane Irene. I will continue to focus on maintaining and creating affordable housing opportunities that offer deep subsidies for our current and future residents. Like Chris, I clearly understand that all creative and important projects to improve the neighborhoods of our residents cannot happen if we are not a financially viable organization. There are many creative thinkers on our staff, just look around, all of you, and they always come up with great ideas, and also creative thinkers from our Board of Commissioners and our Resident Advisory and Communications Committee. I will prioritize the continued work we have done to improve communication between these three groups and to help our community members in Brattleboro understand the needs and ideas of our residents. I hope to lead in a process of seeing these ideas realized to enhance the lives of our current and future residents and the vitality of our community. Brattleboro Housing Partnership staff has developed into a high-functioning team, and this was not an accident. Chris has cultivated this group and should be very proud of the team I am now fortunate enough to lead. The Brattleboro staff thinks every day about developing and maintaining our neighborhoods that support independence and create opportunity. I will continue to support them as they continue this important work. Lastly, and most importantly, I would like to thank Chris for her dedication to our community and residents. Chris told me on the first day, I'm not gonna get upset, but on my first day at Brattleboro Housing, that her belief was that everybody deserved the opportunity to live in an affordable, safe space. I agree with the sentiment and will carry this with me as I navigate my new role. I have really enjoyed the last 7 years of working directly with residents in a supportive role. I have learned so much from our residents that I cannot begin to measure the impact their lives have had on my life. This is the main reason I accepted the opportunity to be the next executive director. While I know I have very big shoes to fill, I promise to continue the big picture idea that Chris has held in the forefront of every decision she has made, and that is to ensure the provision of quality, affordable housing within viable communities to support independence and create opportunity. I appreciate the guidance Chris has given me over the last 7 years, and I look forward to our continued collaboration as she transitions into her new role as Special Projects and Development Manager at Brattleboro Housing Partnerships. And at that point, I'd like to say thank you, but I know a few of our residents would also like to come up and say thank you as well and bring a small gift. Arlene, did you want to come up? Everybody wanted to.
Shy now. Shy group.
Lena, did you want to do the flowers?
I'll come to you.
Okay.
How's that? I'll come.
She's gonna do them.
Okay.
Lena's gonna do them.
Okay.
Thank you all.
What it says on my program is what has been waiting over there, looking very attractive, a refreshment break. So we won't officially adjourn this meeting until after you all are well fed. Thank you. See you.
Could we just do a round of applause? Thank you so much.